So I've been coming here to Taylor for several years. I was trying to think tonight how long it's been. It has been since the late 90s. And I came here mainly because when I came to Idaho from Detroit, and I have a ranch up on the Lower Salmon, I met a helicopter pilot, and he was doing work in here. So I got to come in here, and I met Jim and Holly Atkinson at the time. Got very enthused with the whole idea of Taylor. And at the same time, I have a foundation that I run in Michigan. My dad and my grandpa had a machine tool company and wanted to give back to students for engineering education. Grandpa never went past the 8th grade. And so we were doing things in engineering, but once I came out to Idaho and fell in love with the backcountry, which I did a lot of things with outfitters and that and all that, enjoyed the horses and the packing and got to know the wilderness, I started bringing some of the funds out to share with Idaho. And I was introduced to the University of Idaho through Taylor. And it was at those early years that Jim and Holly Atkinson were here. And we were trying to think of ideas for involving undergraduate students here and also continue research, hopefully have graduate programs that would expand any world-class research in here, because this is a perfect place to examine what is still pristine wilderness compared to what happens in the cities, you know, and what we've done to civilization back where we all live. But anyway, so my first interaction with them was with the professors there at University of Idaho. We thought of ideas for letting the professors think of a project, a research project, and then find a student. We thought of ideas to have interns come in here in the summer, and we've had 4 to 6 of them every summer since. And they would work at the ranch and learn things from professors coming in. So I saw a lot of ways that the Devlieg Foundation could support these programs, because everybody needed a way to financially get in here. And so I became happily a great part of the team. And I didn't work for U of I. I always felt like I was, but we have had some very successful programs. The Devlieg cabin came out of the fire in 2000, where they lost a couple bunkhouses, and I just innocently said maybe Devlieg Foundation could help a little. And if any of you have seen the Devlieg cabin, you'll know we did it a lot, and a lot of it was volunteer work and labor of love to make something that would be a signature of the backcountry, along with fixing up some of the other cabins. So I care very much about the history of the place. I care very much about wilderness. I think if we have to keep educating people to wilderness, or we'll lose it. So we need to educate the young and the old, and keep the history alive in here. I've been very thrilled to be a part of every process and project in here. I also have involved research with other universities to come in here and do their studies. So during some of our ideas, get-togethers with the ranch here, we decided to create what we call the Devlieg Undergraduate Research Scholar. And that idea was to bring undergrads into experiencing a research project. It didn't have to be a 2-year graduate program or anything. It could be just a summer program. There's so much research that's been done in here, and luckily it's becoming cataloged. So you can say what was done on woodpeckers, and you can gather that information and carry on from there. But these students, it was a very successful program in that they felt like they had a real project, and it was only like 10 weeks in the summer. Some of the students have gone on to publish and stay in that subject matter. But every time we have the interns in here and these young students, we have them give a report at the end of the summer, and I am just always thrilled with their comments and their successes and the whole idea that they came in here. And basically, a lot of them, it's changed their life. They've said, oh my God, they had no idea what it would be like to separate themselves from town, from whatever their everyday things are, and their friends and family and everything, and experience the wilderness and experience taking care of themselves. And it's always brought tears to my eyes to have them make those statements, because that's what it's all about. People that come in here, it changes people. It's slow, it's quiet. Sure, we have internet and ways to continue to connect with research, and that's what it's really for. So we're able to keep in contact, and a lot of people hike all the way in here, which is 35 miles from the trailhead, and a lot of the kids fly in. But I'm able to, with my foundation, able to support the funding so that they can do that. And a couple of years ago, we decided to bring professors in every summer for these interns that would teach maybe a 2-3 day course, and they'd learn more about the area. So it's been a pretty successful program.
That was great.
Okay.
Can you maybe reflect on what you think the value of a wilderness education is? You know, what does Taylor provide that other spaces really can't?
It's really hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, you mentioned the quiet, which
Mm-hmm.
really struck me. It struck me ever since I arrived here, the so-called Taylor time, the fact that
Yeah.
you're removed from the stuff that is vexing you and causing anxiety, and you get to resituate and reset in a way
Yeah.
and observe things for once.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
So the experiences I think people have at Taylor are all very personal, but I think it's one theme in that you come in and it's quiet, it's basic. You have to have what you need. You have to brought it in. It's quiet. I think it's a place where people can think and can think about what they're doing on what we want to call, I guess, the outside world. And sometimes it's hard to come back after being at Taylor. It's not an earth-shattering experience, but it's a peaceful time to be in here and have one little project maybe for the undergrads. We have graduate students that have specific projects, and they come in here and hike all over the place. They're gone all day, up rivers and creeks and up the trail, and they're in love with it. And I understand. I love the outdoors and the wilderness, and the fact that I got here a couple days ago and looked over the deck at Devlieg, and there was a bear and her cub walking there right by the tent. That's pretty cool. So you do see a lot of wildlife, and I think what it does is makes you realize that you could slow down back at home. I think maybe something could be said about why I give, and
Why do you give?
yeah, really. Well, with development people that I've been involved with the university, why do you give? I've been more excited about giving to University of Idaho and Taylor Ranch than anything my foundation does. I know I should be helping carry on my dad, my grandpa's legacy in the machine tool business, but oh gosh, the backcountry is a lot more intriguing. But it's passion. They talk about that in developing. It's a passion that you have of something in your life, and I have that passion here for Taylor. I have been doing a lot of it, like half of maybe our funding comes to the University of Idaho and Taylor, and just to encourage research, encourage use of the place, encourage people to have these experiences. And I don't work for the university, but sometimes I think they think I do, because I'm always telling them ideas and hoping to make their ideas happen. And we probably have just a few more years with the foundation. I'm pushing some age here, and I think of Taylor as the legacy for my foundation. And my heart's really in it, so that's pretty cool. So on top of everything else, I love my mules. So 2 years ago, I rode my mules in here. That made all the difference in the world too. So, yeah. Cut.
You're, Janet, you're extremely generous with your support for Taylor, and
Yeah.
it feels like you. It's because you want other people, specifically younger people, to have that same experience and passion, as
Yeah.
you called it, to be able to experience that for themselves.
So can I say that? Yeah.
I mean, to me, that seems what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's that you want other people to have the experience
Yeah.
that you've had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Okay.
that true?
Mhm. Yeah. So also, the passion that I feel for Taylor is the thrill of sharing it with others, and it's not a big crowd in a Taylor. I mean, the university always has trouble making ends meet in here and going through budget and that kind of thing. So I try to help with that. But it's the individual experience in here that it really happens. And it slows you down and it makes you look at wildlife and ecology in here and makes you think about the world. I didn't set out to do all that. It just sort of happened with the way I feel about Idaho and the way I feel about the backcountry, and I just love sharing it with other people, and I've been able to help make that happen financially. So I'm very pleased with that.
Are there any specific, or can you reflect on any memories or specific times that that you've had at Taylor that you really cherish? Is there anything that stands out from all of your visits?
Well, I could talk about the cabin a little bit because that was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it came time that they needed more room for students to stay and everything, we had this idea, all of us, the university and everything, to build a cabin. And so I got involved, well, the foundation did, and my husband at the time was still flying helicopters. We were able to spearhead the whole project, basically. And, it was all volunteer and with my heart that we did all we did. And Jim Pope is a hard worker, too. And so we organized the whole helicopter lift off the main salmon, and we had 32 loads come in here with all the logs, and then we sat here and watched them put it all back together. And then I hired 3 carpenters that are very good with logs, cabins, because they worked on my cabin on the lower salmon. And they came in and put the roof on, put it all together, did all the inside. And then I stayed and stained it and with Holly and spent our first night in the cabin. It was quite the event. And I think the backcountry has a lot of that volunteerism because the backcountry all supports itself. People back here want to help the other guy. Like, you don't drive away from a guy that's stuck in a ditch, in the middle of nowhere. And that's the way I see people in the backcountry, and I think that's the way the students feel when they come in here, because there'll be one project going on and another student, can I go with you today? And then all this, transfer of knowledge goes on. So I think one of our biggest projects, of course, was the cabin, and I practically lived in here at that time. So, and we had the students helping too, the interns that summer. So that was a big experience. But I think programs happening in here that I've helped maybe give some dollars to that happen. Semester in the Wild was something we all kind of got on the ground floor of. Now it's self-sufficient, so that's cool. I always thought that the projects that the Devlieg Foundation would pay for, I'd just do it for a couple of years and then somebody'd jump in. But we haven't had that guy jump in yet. So we're still looking for, substantial funding. And I decided one day with the foundation that they needed money here to support the everyday things happening here with the cost of the maintenance guy and flying in and materials. So my foundation started a substantial endowment. And then the other lady that has supported Taylor way before me was Clara Blake. And she lives in Minnesota, and she's much older now and can't come out, but she ended up giving the same amount. So we have an endowment now and it's not in our names or anything. It's called the Taylor Operational Endowment, and anybody can give to it. So I think that's helped keep the place together, because there have been a lot of threats of having to close it down because of budgets with the University of Idaho, and that would just break my heart. So I work harder at trying to make things happen. Here.
That's good.
Is that good?
That's great.
You can put these in some sort of order.
Yeah.
So things that have happened. Following the students. Okay. So I think the other thing, and it hasn't been that way in the last few years because I've been involved with my own life and stuff, but I still support projects. But at the beginning, when the students would come in here and do the undergrad, I mean, I would follow them on the trail. I would find out what they're doing, and I always had them report to me, and actually had some of them come to our meetings wherever they were, because we used to have our foundation meetings in some really fun places like Estes Park and things. So anyway, I always think that the students were thrilled that somebody was interested. I've always tried to come in and be interested in the projects, whatever they are. And I'm sure it just makes them feel great that somebody is following their career, whether it's something they finish back at U of I or it's just a summer project. I have followed all the students for years. It's very fun for me to be personal with them.
Can you talk about this is maybe a tough one, but can you talk about your vision for Taylor?
Oh boy, goes on forever.
What do you want for Taylor's future? Or what would you like to see?
Well, my vision for Taylor, and it's been this for several years, the Jim and Holly Atkinson, as they were biologists in their own right, so they had a lot of great ideas for the ranch. And there are three things that we worked on, and I think we need to continue to work on, is research here, which involves people. And what better way to get people involved in the wilderness than to have a project. There's the undergraduate programs that help enlighten young people to what could be done in here. Brings a professor in that a lot of times it starts with the professor and then they find the student. So to educate the undergrad to what's going on here, but there's also serious research that has been done in the past with Morris Hornacher and the cougar studies that are world-renowned studies. And I really think it's important to get those have those studies continue to happen in here. We have a chance to have world-class education or research in here. And I think we need to work, that would be a vision that I would have, to continue to have graduate work in here. Of course, it's always a struggle with the Forest Service to be on the edge of wilderness and to be able to touch and work on their land, a lot of times, and you have to work with Fish and Game on some. So I understand all that. But the third element is the ongoing, continuing research of a project. Like we have had a vegetation study in here from a professor at U of I that's gone on for 25 years. And those are very important in the research field. And I learned a lot of this from just being involved with what could be done in here. And I see some of that slacking a little, and I see a lot of chances here for really serious education, research education in here. So that would be my vision, to make this a world-class research place, and at the same time involve people to have these experiences, whether they're big, small, or little. Cut.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was my favorite segment.
That's what, and I used to do the website for them here. You know, that's what were our three, that was our three things of we wanted those as our circle of things. Undergraduate,
Yeah.
ongoing research.
Yeah. Janet, I mean, sometimes you paint yourself as this, like, distant supporter or donor, which you're not. I mean,
No, I'm hands-on.
You've been here.
I know.
You've got your hands dirty.
I know.
Do you have any stories about just like working here with Jim and Holly, or just doing stuff? Anything come to mind? I mean, you've poured your heart and soul into this place.
Yeah. Well, some of the experiences that I've had here are wonderful as far as wildlife is concerned. And I really came here with my husband at the time, who was doing the game surveys for Idaho Fish and Game. That's how I came here in the first place. So I hung out with a lot of biologists, and I actually drove the fuel truck, which didn't involve Taylor Ranch, but I got to come in here and hang out while he was flying and that kind of thing. So I got quite involved with wildlife and elk surveys, bighorn sheep, wolf. I would hang out here, and the Akinses had a mule that died, and they used it for the game camera and to capture a wolf, because they were certified to put the collar on. So here I am holding a wolf head, you know, and just happened to be coming by, and I get to experiences like that, you know. And Holly was always great to take me up on the hill and sit me on a rock, and we had a study in here once with rattlesnakes, and in the winter you had to sort of monitor if they're still alive, and they had pit tags in them, and I learned all about that. And we were sitting there once counting how many, clicks. I guess I learned just enough to be dangerous on all these studies. I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, but we were monitoring them and counting them. And I said, well, now are we going to go find the snakes? And she said, well, you're sitting on their den right now. So, I had a lot of, they just throw me into things, and I was always game to it, because I love being out in the woods, and I love wildlife, and I just want others to learn about it. So I've had a lot of opportunities here for just being here, and I'm very privileged, I think. And I don't think there's any other donor, if you want to call me a donor, that would have bother with those kind of experiences, or be friends with them enough to hang out and want to hear what everybody's doing. And I guess that's what I did, and it's been a love. It really has. So.
Growing up in suburban Michigan,
well,
what do you think drew you out here, out to Idaho?
Yeah. Okay, so when I'm actually from Detroit. I always tell people that to scare them. I go, Detroit's it's not really, it was a nice suburb. And my parents, of course, had that business there in town. But my dad always wished he was a forest ranger. And he had to run this machine tool company because he was responsible. And it was a big company. And I eventually ended up working for the company for 15 years. I was became their advertising manager, so I was in graphic arts. We had a cabin up in northern Michigan, halfway up the thumb, as they say. And we just loved it. It was a log cabin, and we planted trees, and that was where my family's heart was in the woods. And I always loved to camp. I floated every river in Michigan, had a couple bottles of wine when I did it, and just loved being outdoors and camping. And so when I had a chance to buy some property in Idaho, my girlfriend moved out here, and I came flying out that night with my first husband at the time, and we just bought it overnight. It's 1,300 acres on the lower salmon up 5,000 feet, and you've got the river down below. I'm in heaven. I mean, I have the best of every world. I I love the ranch, although I live in town, so I just can't get there in the winter. So, but I guess it came from my family, really. Even though we were industrial people and building machines, my heart again was always in the woods. I've always enjoyed it. So I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand you, Janet.
You're making me dizzy. It's probably the wine.
Um, is do you think of Taylor as your legacy?
Oh yeah, did I say that yet? I thought I tried to.
No, you did, but I mean,
Yeah.
this seems like, in a way, the most important thing in your life.
Yeah. So I have brought my foundation board out here. We've had our meetings here. Oh gosh, I had 5 airplanes on the strip, you know. Tried not to bruise the wilderness. They love this place. And they were actually came out for the christening of the new Devlieg cabin or whatever. They love everything we do at Taylor, so I have all that support with my foundation board. And I think that the majority of them all know that what I feel as a legacy for my Devlieg money that I've been able to disperse all these years, even though I try to keep my grandpa's legacy alive, because he is in the Hall of Fame of machine tool manufacturers. He never went past the 8th grade, so he wanted to give back to education. So that theme always ran with me too. But I always have felt that my heart's here at Taylor, and that this is a legacy I want my foundation to live with and live on with. So, and I know it will, with all that we've been able to financially support, emotionally support here. How could it not, you know? And U of I has always been respectful for that to me, and I'm just very happy to volunteer and be part of it all.
Are there any things you want to say, from the heart, or just
I
things
think
you didn't go over, or just anything you want to say at all? Otherwise, we can wrap it.
Yeah, I think that last one was pretty good.
I got teary-eyed.
Got tears. I got tears. You're
got
gonna make me cry.
I got a little teary-eyed, Janet.
Well, I mean it.
I know. I know.
I basically mean it. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know how these people, sometimes they don't know what to do with me. You know, U of I. Because I was always saying, well, we're going to do this. Don't you want to do this? You know, so. And they always take good care of me, and they're always very respectful of me. And they know I want to be part of things. And there's long legs when I don't know what's going on with Taylor, and then I get real worried, because we always need a good maintenance person here, and we always need somebody to watch it all winter long. And it's hard to find those people. And there's always been budget cuts, and I've always freaked out and panicked, and what can we do? So that's why we started that endowment. So
I think Andrew's pretty good.
What is?
Andrew. Are you happy with Andrew?
Oh God, yeah.
Me too.
God, yeah. What I think we need right now, okay. What I think would be good for Taylor right now, and I've always been on the planning committees, so I have some good ideas. And they had a really good coordinator last year, and that's what I think we need right now. We need a educator, a professor type coordinator that can organize the research in here, whether it's an undergrad or graduate, bring in the government agencies, and organize it so there's always a project going on in here. And what the good part about that is that when you bring the undergrads in, they can always be part of that project. and they can use them to go, like I said before, go up the stream with them and learn from those projects. And I think we're at a stage where we need to get a little more organized again. And I'm always the first one to build the flow chart. Let's do it, you know. You can't, I've always been encouraged with what they do in here. That was Teresa last year. You didn't know her.
Teresa's on my PhD.
Oh,
committee.
we did that.
Yeah,
We talked about that
yeah,
before.
I love Teresa.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, just, I don't know what their plans are at all.
I don't know either. It's always been vague to me. You know?
But I literally, 2 years ago when Teresa, we literally did have a flow chart. And I gave them money for the grad student from Moss to come, 2 of them to come, and they would filter out projects, and made sense to me. But then Teresa ended up leaving. So.
Yeah.